Hello everyone and welcome back to our channel. So today I'm going to be making this delicious homemade fried rice. So if you guys want to see how I make it, keep on watching. Here are some of the ingredients that I will be using for my fried rice. I have 5 cups of jasmine rice. I also have wild Patagonian pink raw shrimp. Now the only reason why I bought this brand, y'all, is because it was wild caught, and it's the only one that they had that was wild caught. I try to stay away from farm raised seafood if I can. I also have 2 bunches of green onions that have been rinsed and washed. I also have some extra virgin olive oil, low sodium soy sauce, as well as some kosher salt. I also have some ground white pepper, as well as some ground black pepper. I will also be using ground garlic. I have some shredded carrots and a half an onion. I also will be using my umami seasoning from Trader Joe's. I also have some Chinese 5-spice, as well as oyster sauce. I also have my teaspoons just for measuring. I will also be using my Better Than Bullion chicken stock base, as well as 4 eggs, and I do have a piece of ginger in the back that you guys can really barely see. I will also be using my wok. Now if you don't have a wok, any skillet will do. And I forgot to mention that I will be using chicken as well. So right now I am thinly slicing some chicken thighs. I chose chicken thighs over chicken breast because it just tends to be a much it doesn't dry out like chicken breast can sometimes. So there I have about 8 chicken thighs that I have thinly sliced, and I am going to get ready to season it, but first I want to wash my hands. So this recipe, you guys, is a big hit in our family. I love it. 1, because the kids like it. 2, because I have leftovers. Yes, and who doesn't like leftovers? That is a mom. I know I do. So that's an even plus for me, because now I don't have to cook tomorrow because it makes so much. So here is what I'm going to use the oyster sauce for. I'm going to use the oyster sauce to marinate my chicken as well as the Chinese 5-spice. So here, I know I had the measuring tablespoons, y'all, didn't even use them. I'm using about a teaspoon of the Chinese 5-spice, and I'm using about a tablespoon of the oyster sauce. I think it's just out of habit, me not using those measuring spoons, you guys. And here I am, I'm just mixing everything up very well, because I'm actually going to stick this in the refrigerator so that it can marinate for a few minutes while I'm preparing everything else. So I am getting ready to just put some saran wrap over it so that I can stick it in the fridge. It's probably going to be in the refrigerator for roughly about 15-20 minutes, maybe even a little bit longer than that. This is also something that you can do the night before. We'll stick it in that refrigerator until it's time for me to do the rice. So now I am preparing the rice. I am making my rice in my Instapot. I love that the Instapot has a saute setting on it, because the way I'm going to make my rice is I put a little extra virgin olive oil into my Instapot. Here I am adding my half a cup of onion. I am going to just saute that until it is nice and caramelized. And yes, this is so awesome having an Instapot because you can just do everything in one pot. Not only that, it cooks the rice in like 12, I think it's like 12 or 15 minutes it cooks the rice. So it's just awesome. I just love this Instapot. So now my onions are nice and caramelized. This is where the umami seasoning comes in from Trader Joe's. Now, hey, I did use my teaspoons. So I am going to use a tablespoon of the umami seasoning. I'm going to add that in with the carrots, and I'm just going to give that a nice stir. Just get it all incorporated with those onions. It seems like it's just a little bit dry, so I am going to add in a little bit more olive oil. It just seemed a little bit too dry to me. So I'm just going to keep stirring that around until it's nice and coated all over the onions. And now it's nice and coated. I'm going to add my rice. Now I've already rinsed my rice and drained it, and I'm going to go ahead on and add it in with the onions and the umami seasoning. Now this part of how I make my shrimp and chicken fried rice is similar to Spanish rice. If any of you have ever made homemade Spanish rice, this is similar to that technique, because with Spanish rice, well, I don't know if everybody makes their Spanish rice like that, but I know that's the way I was taught by a friend of mine, that you basically kind of saute your rice a little bit first before you actually add your wet ingredients to it. So that's what I'm doing here. I am just sauteing my rice until I feel like my rice is just kind of light feeling, is how I can explain it, to where it's nice and toasted. And so now I'm going to add my Better Than Bullion chicken base. Or if you just have regular chicken stock, you can use that too. I'm adding 2 tablespoons of my Better Than Bullion chicken base. As well as 5 cups of water. And I'm just going to stir that around and mix it up until I feel like, until I notice that the Better Than Bullion is dissolved. Now, if you want to, you can dissolve the Better Than Bullion chicken base in the water before you add it to your rice. It just depends on how you want to do it. There's really no wrong or right way to do it, just as long as you make sure that your chicken base is dissolved, because you don't want to end up with clumps of chicken base in it. And now it was nice and dissolved, so I'm going to go ahead and get the rice going. And as you guys can see, 12 minutes the rice is done. So next up, I'm going to go on and saute the chicken. So I'm just adding a little bit of extra virgin olive oil to my wok. That's me making sure the wok is hot enough. Didn't feel like it was. And here I'm just coating the oil all around my wok. Make sure it's nice and coated as far up as I can get it before I add my chicken. And now I am adding my chicken. Make sure your wok or your skillet is nice and hot before you add your chicken. And now I'm just going to simply saute my chicken until it is completely done. And as you can see, my chicken is a little bit has like a brown color to it because that oyster sauce has really marinated into the meat. I love using that oyster sauce in all of my in a lot of my Asian dishes. So the oyster sauce is going to give the chicken like a slight sweetness. It's not overly sweet. It just has the oyster sauce has a hint of sweetness to it, and I really like it. So I'm just going to keep stirring that up and cooking my chicken until it is completely done. And it's looking pretty done to me. Maybe just a few more minutes. Usually you can tell when it's done when all the liquid at the bottom has been dissolved. So now it's completely done, and I'm going to put it in a bowl and just set it aside while I get all the rest of my ingredients ready for the rice. I wish y'all were here so you could smell just the aromas that is coming forth from just the chicken and that rice that I made that's over there cooking. Just the aroma in the kitchen is just ooh la la. So I'm going to go ahead on and see, that's what the chicken looks like. So I'm going to set that aside. And now my rice is done. And I'm just going to I'm just fluffing up my chicken. I'm sorry, I said my chicken. I'm just going to fluff up my rice. Now I'm going to add my rice to a bowl because I don't want it to sit in the Instapot, because I want it to get air to it, so that way it dries it out a little bit more. And now I'm just going to add the rice over here with my chicken. So now I have my chicken done and my rice done. Now I am going to fry up my eggs. Now, you don't have to cook your eggs separate like I'm doing. You can actually cook them like once you do your carrots or your shrimp, or even once you put your rice in, you can scoot all that to the side and then saute your egg that way. I just like to do mine separately just because, I don't know, it just seems easier to me. So here I am just lightly beating my egg. I'm adding a little bit more extra virgin olive oil to my skillet. Coating my skillet again, make sure I'm getting it nice and coated so that my egg doesn't stick. And now I am adding my egg. And for the egg, it's what it is. You just scramble an egg. That's it. I think I said fry earlier. We're not frying the egg. We're going to scramble the egg. So you're just going to scramble the egg in your skillet or your wok until it's done. And mine is looking pretty done. Usually takes about 2 to 3 minutes. And it's done, and now I'm just going to add it in a bowl and set it over there to the side with my rice and my chicken. I love making this recipe, you guys, for the family. It is a awesome dish. And you can use any kind of meat, really. I don't think really there are no like rules to making fried rice. You can make a vegetable fried rice, chicken, shrimp, beef. You can make a combination. Whatever you choose, you can just have fun with it. So we're getting there, you guys. And so now I am going to prepare my shrimp. I love the fact that these shrimp are already shelled and deveined. So the only thing I have to do is just rinse them off. This makes it a whole lot easier when they're already cleaned for you. Especially if you have a lot. I think this was 2 pounds, I think, of shrimp. And like I said, this is my first time trying this kind. I hope they taste good. But oh, that was a shrimp that I found that still had a little bit of the vein in it. So I got that out. And hopefully these shrimp taste good, you guys. Like I said, I try to stay away from farm-raised shrimp and fish and things like that. I would prefer it just to be wild caught. So now I'm just draining the shrimp. Put those in a bowl. And I am going to season my shrimp with a little bit of garlic. That's about a teaspoon of garlic. I am also going to add some kosher salt. That's about a teaspoon of kosher salt. I will also be adding some ground black pepper, about a teaspoon or a quarter of a teaspoon, as well as a quarter of a teaspoon of the white black pepper. I mean white, really, Kiana, white black pepper. Y'all, just white pepper. So now I'm just gonna stir that up, get that seasoning coated all on those shrimp so we can get ready to cook those shrimp. So I already have my oil in the skillet that was heating up while I was rinsing them. You can see the smoke coming from my wok. So now I'm just making sure that they're in an even layer so that way they all cook. Trying to make sure that there's none on top of each other. I want them all to be flat. So if any of you guys have ever had these kind of shrimp, please let me know down in the comments below. So here I am again, just making sure they're all nice and in one layer. And while the shrimp are cooking, I am going to get the green onions ready. So I'm just going to take off that little furry tail at the bottom. We don't want to eat that. And I'm just going to dice it, starting from the bottom. I'm just going to work my way up to the top part. And once again, this is 2 bunches of green onions. I bought 2 bunches just because the grocery store that I bought these at, the bunches seemed very skimpy. So I said, oh, I better get 2 because it really didn't seem like there was a lot just in one bunch by itself. So I got my green onion all chopped up and ready to go. And I'm just going to place that in a bowl and put it off to the side until I am ready to use it. Uh-oh, there was one that got away from me that was too big, so I had to cut it in half, y'all. I really enjoy cooking. I really, really do. So there's my green onions all ready to go. And I'm just going to add it over here with the rest of the friends. And now my shrimp are looking good. They look pretty done. You'll know when they're done. And these have kind of went down quite a bit. It seemed like they were a lot plumper. That's the word. That's how you say it. They were a lot plumper before I cooked them. And so I'm just going to put them over in a bowl until they're done. I mean, put them in a bowl and set them off to the side. And I'm about done, you guys. It's time to start putting everything. It's almost about time to start putting everything together. So I'll add the shrimp over there with the rest of the friends. And next up is my ginger. If you guys haven't tried ginger in your fried rice, please do so. So I just peeled my ginger, and now I am just using a grater, the small side of the grater, just to grate up my ginger. Please try it. When we used to buy fried rice from the restaurant, we always ask for a side of ginger with our fried rice. So here I am going to cook the carrots. And I believe this was 2 pounds in that bag. I believe that bag said 2 pounds of shredded carrots. And I just added a little bit of salt and a little bit of ground black pepper to my carrots, just to season it up a little bit. And you're basically just going to cook your carrots until they are done. And you'll know when they're done because they're going to go down. They're going to shrink up quite a bit. You don't want them mushy, but you don't want them too crunchy either. You want them a little bit less than al dente. And so here my carrots were done. So now I'm just adding in my rice. I love the color that the umami seasoning gives my fried rice. I just really started adding that seasoning to my fried rice, and I'm so glad that I decided to try it because we love it with the fried rice. And so now I'm just going to add in my low sodium soy sauce. Here I'm adding in about 3 tablespoons of soy sauce. I like the low sodium soy sauce just because it allows me to add salt if I want to in some of the other ingredients. I didn't want it to be too salty. So now I'm adding in my egg. You're not going to add in your egg until all your rice is coated. Make sure you don't see any white rice before you start adding in your other ingredients. Now I'm adding in my chicken. And after I added in each ingredient, I gave it a stir, only because it's so much rice that if I would have added everything in at once and then tried to stir it up, it would have just been a little bit hard. I probably would have had rice everywhere. So I'm just adding in one ingredient at a time and then stirring it up. And now goes in the shrimp. Give that a nice good stir. Make sure all those shrimp are nice and incorporated into the rice. This makes a lot of rice, you guys. Now I'm adding in that fresh ground ginger. That's about a tablespoon of ground ginger. You can add more or less if you like. A tablespoon works perfect for us. And here I'm adding in the green onions. For the green onions, that's about 2 cups of green onions. I said 2 cups. I think it probably was more like 1.5 cups of green onions. You can add more or less. You can add peas or I don't know, green beans. My kids don't like peas, so that's why I didn't add peas to this. And I really didn't need to either because I have the green onions, which is giving it a nice color. And now everything is done, y'all, and now I am plating it up.